Mike Evans, sitting Mike Evans was a major mistake. What a amazing performance by Mike Evans, a guy we talked about all yesterday and this morning and the day before. JT fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line because he can't hold on to it. He celebrates. How does somebody do that when players are getting ridiculed every other week in college football and the pros of dropping the ball before they cross the goal line? How do you do that when it's very widely known that it's absolutely, you're going to get blasted and roasted for it? Lamar goes insane, nuclear. JD's an absolute monster. Joe Burrow's strong again. Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall salvages with the touchdown. Nick Chubb breaks his foot, and Mahomes injures his ankle. Wrap-up show. Week number. Tay Adams went crazy. Neighbors. BTJ. Top 10 wide receiver next year no matter what. That show, the recap show, the Week 15 reaction show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Here we are to discuss all of the news walking into the Sunday evening game, and your boy Smitty's going to do the waiver wire show live with you after the game. So be here, don't be late, be here or be square. Right before the game ends, Sunday night game ends, we go live before the games, we go live after the afternoon games to do a total recap and then a preview of the Sunday night game. Then we come back live after the Sunday night game. 3 live streams minimum on a Sunday. That's just a day at the office here at the Fantasy Football Show on Sundays. Let's get straight into the news, and we'll have some time hopefully to discuss. We got the Sunday night football game kicking down to kick off. Looks like we got about an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. Lamar Jackson went absolutely nuclear. 21 of 25, 290 yards and 5 touchdowns in his Week 15 win against the Giants, adding 6 rushes for 65 yards. Who plays the Giants next week? Because I'll tell you what, I don't remember off the top of my head. Travis, who plays the Giants? Space Ricky, who plays the Giants next week? I don't have next week's schedule in front of me. But good Lord. What a day. And Henry was nowhere to be found for the most part. Derrick Henry was an absolute no-show, milk carton type performance. Where's Derrick Henry? I think his news is right here. 14 for 67. And just they don't get him an open space. Derrick Henry is slowing down. Atlanta, nice Atlanta. Give me Bijan Robinson. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Smitty, but it was the passing attack that blew up against the Giants. Yes, and guess what? Bijan catches footballs. Did you hear?
Let him cook.
So I'm excited about that. London, hopefully we get a taste of what Cousins or Penix Jr., if he comes in at halftime of this Monday night game, that we still got to go on for Week 15. The Falcons game is Monday night. So we'll have a lot to go over after that game in anticipation of what to expect with the Falcons players. But anyway, back to Week 15. We don't need to talk about Week 16 right now. Derrick Henry, non-existent. This guy has lost a step. He's older. And I'm not saying he can't ball out. I'm not saying he can't fall into the end zone 2 or 3 times in one game in this Ravens system. But when they don't need him and they don't get him in open space, he can't do what he used to do anymore. He's slowing down for sure. So tough break. And if you've got Henry, you have to play him. Like don't come to me this week. Do we sit Henry for Rachaad White? You can't do that. Okay, Henry's a guy you have to play. He's a must start. You wrote him this long. You got to keep continuing and hoping that he gets the right usage, because he needs the right usage at his age to do anything. But this guy, remarkable, and dare I say, easily third round worthy in 2025 drafts. I know a lot of people are going to stray away from early quarterback. Not this channel. We're every year a big advocate of waiting, grabbing the breakouts, This is the channel that called Jalen Hurts' breakout. This is the channel that calls those type of quarterback JD5. But we're also a channel that supports early quarterback because the majority of fantasy football content creators, they follow each other. The sheep follow each other into the flames and say, don't draft a quarterback early when Josh Allen can single-handedly walk you into a week number 15 win. Where Lamar Jackson can single-handedly walk you into a week 15 win. If you won your week largely due to Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, raise your hand. We are an early quarterback drafting community. We love our sleepers as well, but sometimes we'll draft our early quarterback, still take our Jalen Hurts of the future, our JD5 of the future, and then we can make some sort of trade later because we were geniuses. But early quarterback can rule fantasy football. And if you've got Lamar and you got Allen, guess what? You're balling today. You balled last week. You're going to continue to ball.
Let him cook.
Early quarterback. Don't take a quarter. Didn't you know? I'd rather grab which is fine. That's an approach I take too. Do a lot of best ball drafts. Sometimes I do a late quarterback draft. Again, JD5, Jalen Hurts. We love finding the gems that are sitting out there, the diamonds in the rough, the rising stars. You know, absolutely. No problem. But those don't draft a quarterback early. Didn't you hear? That's not the way the world works, Smitty. It's not.
Take a big lap. We don't need your head mask coming back now. Take a big lap. Take one and you don't come back.
All right, Lamar, we're only on one news piece. Let me move along here, speed along. JD5 completed 25 of 31 passes, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns in the Commanders' 20-19 Week 15 win over the Saints, while adding 11 carries for 65 yards. He cooked.
Let him cook.
Boy, did he cook. JD5's so good. JD5 fell off, Smitty. JD5 fell off.
Take a big lap.
Oh, here's a guy. His name is... Hold on, we got breaking news.
From the fantasyfootballshow.com.
You know, a lot of people ask me to perform miracles on this channel. Smitty, make something amazing happen. And I say, you know what? I can. Watch this. Watch this right here. I'll take this and... boom. And then out of nowhere, zoom in on this bad boy. Zoom in on that.
They laughed when we said he was about to be an unstoppable force for all to see. With Chase Brown, get up, get down. With Chase Brown.
Okay, as much as I'd like to play the rest of that clip, we got to get moving here. Chase Brown, 25 totes, 97 yards, and a touchdown in the Bengals Week 15 win over the Titans, adding 3 receptions for 16 yards and a touchdown. I mean, this guy is a marvel. He's an absolute marvel. I know this one. What has Brown done for you?
They laughed when we said he was about to be.
Okay, as much as I want to keep playing that, I love Chase Brown. You love Chase Brown. We all love Chase Brown. Chase Brown to the mother flipping moon. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. How dare I? What disrespect I've shown Terry McLaurin when we mention his father, Jaden Daniels, who drops 2 touchdowns via the air, 226, and like I said, runs for 66 yards. 2 of the touchdowns went to this man, Terry McLaurin, one of the bigger steals in fantasy. The DJ Moore of this year, as we said all offseason long. Guess what? DJ Moore needed Justin Fields. We waited for it. When Justin Fields and DJ Moore finally got united together before the Bears ruined that and tore it apart, for Caleb. But who is a top 5 to 7 wide receiver? DJ Moore. Same thing we knew was going to happen. You give Terry McLaurin a quarterback, which he's never had. He turns into an absolute monster, and he starts cooking all year long. What a monster. 7 of 10, 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. Super consistent, absolute amazing play. Congrats to all of you that started Terry McLaurin. Now, this was a call that I'll admit there was a lot of 50-50 calls that this guy was in. Sometimes I said Neighbors, sometimes I didn't. I did not hit home runs all week with the Neighbors call. It was hard. You guys have tough dilemmas, a lot of even Steven questions. Some of it was like McLaurin versus Neighbors. Some of it worked out either way. But Neighbors hauled in 11 of 18 targets. 11 of 18. Now, that number should kind of alarm you and kind of not. It doesn't alarm you because you catch 11 receptions, you're going to have a good day. He did, 100 yards and a touchdown. But 18 targets, that's crazy. That's a lot of inaccuracy going on over there. They're down. They're throwing the ball from behind against the Ravens. This is probably a recipe that you got to kind of hope at least. And I said I didn't know that it would be this game, but one of these next games in the next 3 weeks, weeks 15, 16, 17, one of them, he would absolutely explode, and it would kind of ruin and damper the old, did people kind of forget how good he is walking into next year? Not that anybody would let him slip too far, but when he does something like this, it excites people beyond reason, and it sucks because it would be more beneficial if he didn't explode in the final 3 weeks. It would be slightly more beneficial for 2025. But what a day. If you had him, he had a monster performance. 10 receptions. What a PPR explosion. Nick Chubb broke his foot today. Prayers up to Nick Chubb. He's done, though. He's done. There's too many injuries, too many leg injuries. He's an injury-prone player. He's older. Ziggy, how old is Nick Chubb? Ziggy, how old is Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb is 28 years old and was born on December 27, 1995.
Yeah. So December, that means he turns 29 here in like about 10 days, 12 days, whatever. He turns 29 years old, which means he turns 30 years old during the 2025 season at the tail end. He's done. He's done. He had a good run. We love Nick Chubb. Hats off to him, but he's done. And Jerome Ford's around here somewhere. Let me see if I can find the Jerome Ford clip because I think it's very fitting to discuss Jerome Ford right now because he'll be on the waiver wire show tonight. Jerome Ford, our absolute sleeping giant, rags to riches player from the offseason that really did carry some people at the beginning of the year. It's kind of hard to remember at this point because they went away from him. But the guy comes in and rushes 7 times for 82 yards and a touchdown in the Week 15 loss to the Chiefs, adding 2 receptions for 20 yards. A nice little running back find. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to win you leagues, but he's somebody that could really help a team that's struck by injury. Maybe you lost Nick Chubb, and you should be cuffing the two. But Ford's going to return to relevance. How relevant? Tough to say, but a great performance by Ford. And he's a good, crafty player. It's why we loved him all offseason. He was a big sleeper of this show. And he just kind of vanished because of Nick Chubb reemergence, which he didn't explode. We knew Nick Chubb would never return to form, but the waters got cloudy. Joe Mixon, this is a head-scratching situation because he did get banged up, went to the blue tent, came back in the game, but Joe Mixon rushed 12 times for 23 yards. It wasn't that he looked bad necessarily running, it's that the team did not block for him, and the plays looked awful. He got swarmed at the line of scrimmage or before the line of scrimmage. I just don't know if they plan on running the same. Since Nico's been back, it's changed the dynamic a little bit. Joe Mixon absolutely crapped the bed. The 5 catches for 33 yards kind of salvaged the day because he got roughly almost a 10-point game, but it still was not what we've been expecting out of Mixon, who's been insane all freaking season. So I don't know what to expect. You got to start him next week, but it depends if you have like some sort of like angel that's come down from the fantasy heavens like Zach Charbonnet. Then you have a dilemma that we can handle. But aside from that, Mixon's a lineup must, start. Rico Dowdle been consistent, and this is one of I was wrong on him. I mean, it took him all season to get here, so it's not like drafting him early would have been a good move, but he was pretty cheap. And Rico Dowdle, 25 times, 149, looking good. He didn't really look this good earlier. He looks good right now. He's passing the eye test. He's becoming a good football player. And it will be a shame if this team, in a way, does draft Genty or somebody that just knocks him off of, any sort of opportunity that he currently is looking at. But we'll see what happens. And I forget, what's Rico Dowdle's contract, actually? Rico Dowdle contract. Let's see what his contract looks like. His contract is as follows. He is a unrestricted free agent in 2025, so he can go play ball elsewhere if he would like to. So that's a pretty good piece of news there, because if, in fact, the Cowboys do move on from him, which I think they probably will consider it strongly because of Genty, but maybe they don't, then Rico, they'll probably bring him back. That's something I could see the Cowboys doing and not going after Genty, but this guy is an unrestricted free agent in 2025. That's fantastic news if anything should arise with the quarterback drafting undrafted. Great news. I thought we were going to lose a running back potentially, but he's looking good. I admit it. He's somebody I did not think would look as good as he does. That's on me. Nico Collins, 4 of 6 for 17 yards. Bad game, right? Wrong. Keep reading. And 2 touchdowns. 17 yards and 2 touchdowns. But this explains more of what is wrong in Houston. Stroud is not exactly looking the same at all. He still doesn't look the same. He knows how to find Nico, though. But the offense isn't running smoothly, and they win games. They're 8. What's the record? 9-5. They're absolutely, absolutely doing good things, but it doesn't look the same at all. And Stroud is holding back the fantasy football assets, whether the team wins or is doing well or not. Nico is a top 5 wide receiver, but there is a little bit of caution walking into 2025 drafts when you have to draft him as high as you probably will, given that I feel like there's a little bit of injury risk we want him to shake. I don't think it's fair to call him an injury-prone player necessarily, but once he shakes that concern, then we'll let it go, right? But you also have Stroud. So there's potentially 2 red flags that could go away or could remain. It makes it a tough situation depending on where he gets drafted, but he has top 5 wide receiver upside. T. Higgins, this is one of my starts of the week. 88 yards and a touchdown. Would I've loved to see more, like 120, 2 touchdowns? Sure, but I think 88 and a touch was pretty damn good for people that said, you know what, I'll go ahead and risk the biscuit for Higgins this week. Breece Hall kind of gave us a scare because they weren't using him well. 9 carries. They did not want to use him. 2 receptions and 9 carries. How do you sustain fantasy football production on 9 carries and 2 receptions? You don't. And thank God he scored a touchdown. So he had a pretty decent day at the end of it. That's 9 points on the ground. You mix in 10, 11, 12, 13 or so points, right? Depending on your scoring, if it's full PPR, half PPR, 13 points, not a bad day. You'll take that, but you certainly wanted more out of Breece Hall. But good God, the team was awful in the first half, and then they decided, let's just throw it to Davante Adams all day. Let's get that out of the way. Where is that? Here it is. Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers looked like trash in the beginning of the game, really the first half, and then he comes to life and throws for 3 total touchdowns, 289. It was a good play. There was someone that had a super flex question, and I discarded Aaron Rodgers as an option. I forget what the other 2 were. I think Bo Nix was one. That was the only one to waiver. Aaron Rodgers, Bo Nix. Bo Nix had 3 touchdowns, but he also had 3 INTs. So, you could argue that it was actually closer than it looked like it was going to be for Bo Nix. Kind of the same thing. Nick started off really bad, and then he came around and started scoring touchdowns late in the game. Same thing happened with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers ending with 289 and 3 tutties. But this man right here, 8 receptions, 198 and 2 touchdowns. Davante Adams was an absolute monster. I don't know that I'd expect that next week, but I think you start him for sure. CeeDee Lamb did exactly what we thought he'd do against the Carolina Panthers. 9 receptions, 116, and a touchdown against the Carolina Panthers. He was phenomenal, and he's a must-start going forward. Let's hope they don't shut him down on any level. I don't think they're going to unless his injuries get a little worse. I think Jerry wants the team to keep winning because Jerry has this thing where he thinks if he wins out and shows promise that he will be validated for all of his mistakes this offseason. That's how sick Jerry is in the head. So he's going to be urging this team to win. So I think as long as CeeDee Lamb doesn't, suffer further injury or anything, he'll continue to play. Breece Hall, we'll see. If Hall's injuries behind him and he had no setbacks, I could see him continuing to play as well. But he is still somebody you would look at as a potential person that's going to be like, okay, well, if there's nothing to play for, whatever. Okay, Tajay Spears rushed 4 times for 5 yards and a touchdown. This is an entry, 6 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. He was used a ton. This is something that we got to take note of. Waiver wire board, Tajay Spears, Jerome Ford, they're going to be on it. You can bet your bottom dollar. Jerry Jeudy, 11 receptions for 108. Wish he got a touchdown, but he didn't. But he still had a phenomenal day. That's a big day for Jerry Jeudy. Jamar Chase, 9 of 11 for 94 yards. Almost had a touchdown. Almost had 2 touchdowns, really. That would have been a huge difference. And I think I would have won some Best Ball Battle Royale cash money. Like, I won some, but I would have won some massive underdog. Promo code Smitty. Guys, if you want to do any hires in this game here, Pick'ems, hit this link right now. Also, make sure you draft a Week 16 team, especially if your team's down and out and you lost and you're done. Don't walk away from it be all depressed. Play underdog. And I'll pin the link right now. Play underdog. We're going to draft tomorrow night. Maybe we'll do a draft tonight. I don't know. But on underdog, you can reset your fortune. You can reset your fate. You can draft with all the knowledge you have now for a Week 16 only Battle Royale and try and win $30K. $7 an entry to try and win $30K. It's pretty phenomenal. It's fun, and it gives you extra skin in the game, even if your teams are winning and doing well. Jamar Chase, still a good day. That's 18 points in PPR. It's still a good outing. Joe Burrow continues. 271, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs and a fumble, but if the turnovers don't cost you, -3 per, you're okay. Joe Burrow still 8. Again, Adams, as mentioned, 9 receptions, 198 and 2 touchdowns. Just an unbelievable day. And Aaron Rodgers was feeding him like they were back in the backyard in Green Bay. It was wild. Patrick Mahomes considered week to week with the ankle injury. I think it's weird they say week to week. Is that an accurate assessment from Ian Rappaport, or is that him making up the designation? This might have been said by Andy Reid, though. It probably did. And the week to week would make you think that he potentially is a strong shot at sitting. And what do they want to do? They want to they've already clinched, but it's all about seeding, home field advantage, etc. So like that's in their mind. But they're also going to say to themselves, it's more important that we win a Super Bowl and we don't have this injury get worse. So can we be okay letting him sit a week? Can we be okay just taking it easy with him? But he's also the kind of player that, like, I could see him being completely fine by Wednesday. He's actually looking good. He walked off the field, walked out of the locker room, onto the cart, and then the cart drove away. And the hatred for this man is wild. This guy's the most... I don't understand. He's one of the more likable players in the league. He truly is. He's one of the most likable players in the league, but he's the most hated. Because he wins, because he plays for the Chiefs, because of the referees, because of what everybody says. He's favored. But he's one of the most likable people in the league. He's a caring, kind guy surrounded by a madness environment of a family. From his brother to his dad to his wife to everything. He's the most normal. Even though he talks like a frog, he's the most normal person in his family. And whenever a player gets hurt, he's the first person to call the ref over. Garrett got poked in the eye. Come over here. He's the first person to do it. He cares about all of his opponents. He got leveled in this game, got sandwiched and bent backwards and injured his ankle. Looked like maybe he tore his ACL, but he didn't. It was an ankle injury. But it was at first we feared ACL because of the nature of the tackle and the hit. But Mahomes he gets an unnecessary amount of hatred. The guy's an absolute stand-up dude. Week to week, I'll keep you posted. We should know more probably tomorrow and know more the next day and every day after. Brian Thomas Jr., 105 and 2 touchdowns. 105.
Let him cook. I
mean, really, 105 and 2 touchdowns, 10 receptions, top 10 wide receiver of the future. Remember, this guy was in our top 7. And then Trevor Lawrence banged up, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. And he is sporadic. But, bro, this guy pulling this in with the quarterback carousel going on, absolute monster. Absolute must start going forward. Brian Thomas Jr. And I hate to say that he was in a lot of questions where the answer was BT sometimes, and sometimes the answer wasn't because you had amazing options. So this week you gotta keep him in. You got to keep him in. But we'll attack those questions when you have them. But he's a must start. McLaurin's a must start. There's a lot of people that had like 3 or 4 McLaurin BT players that they had to debate between. Who do I start? McLaurin, BT, Devontae Adams, and another player that went nuts. Like, yeah, how do you like Nico, BT, Devontae Adams, and McLaurin? Okay, well, you got to go Nico, right? You start Nico, but look at that situation. Like, how do you make these calls? These calls are really tough. They're 50-50 calls. The answer to how do you make these calls is you're going to get some of them wrong. You're going to get some of them right. Waddle was somebody that I tried to stray away from every time I got a Waddle question because he's hard to trust, and he gets injured. Hurts his knee in the game. Questionable to return. Doesn't return. Waddle, a big injury risk. And I don't know what. Every year people overdraft this guy, and I just can't buy in. I'm not buying in. I refuse to buy in. He's always injured. Devon Achane rushed 12 times for 41 yards. They just don't give him enough work. But he still manages to salvage 7 receptions for 35 on 7 targets. That ends up being 10 and a half PPR points. 7 for 35. So you mix that in with the 4, it's a 14, 15-point game, depending on your scoring, which at the end of the day, that's more than salvaging. It's a pretty good affair. So, Achane, it could do so much more. It could be so much more impacting if they just fed him right. Alvin Kamara, what was it, a groin? I think it was a groin injury for Alvin Kamara. Exited somebody correct me if I'm wrong on the injury. I think it was groin. Left the game, didn't come back, scored a touchdown, and received a very crafty, trick play, touchdown toss. And then, he ended up missing the remainder of the game. So we'll have to monitor him, see if he's going to potentially miss 2025 week number 16 of the fantasy football playoffs. So hang tight. We'll see if you have him in week 16. He failed people last year in week 17. I'm one of them. Christian McCaffrey and Kamara. I'll tell the story till the day I die. I was in the top 10 in I think it was the big board Superflex or the big board, or might have been the little board. I forget. One of the boards. I was in the top 10. I was slated for $35,000, and that was not even in first place. I think first place was $200K, and I was slated for $35,000. Like not one. That's where I was positioned. That's where I was floating at. It says what you're projected to win. $35K. I was excited. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, another half of football to go. This is week 17, the final week in the championship game on Underdog. Promo code Smitty, and I got $35K floating next to my name. Inside the top 10, sitting there, looking, judging, and then all of a sudden, word comes out, Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, both my running backs, both top 5 running backs, both decide to sit the remainder of the second half, and I plummet all the way down to like 40th place or whatever, 30th place, I think 30-something place. I won like 1,500. I wasn't excited. So, Kamara, here he is. CMC, here he is. Both disappointing at the end of the day here. Kendre Miller will be talked about. Yeah, we'll talk about him. Tyreek Hill, 2 of 7 for 36 yards. Returned back to Pumpkin State. This guy returned into a pumpkin on the field right before our very eyes. This is what worried me about Tyreek Hill. There were a couple questions where it was like very, very close calls. And my lean has been and kind of was, for the most part, walking into any question with Tyreek Hill was, I don't know if he just kind of got lucky the last couple weeks. Caught the touchdown that was tipped the week prior. Last week, he was in the right spot at the right time, but it felt like it came out of nowhere. And it was like, why did he get recharged for a second? It didn't feel real. It didn't feel real. Tyreek Hill is probably done. He's probably done. Sun God, Chase Brown, Jonnu for me going to...
Legend has it if you say St. Brown 3 times in the dark in the bathroom, you will immediately lose your league.
So fantastic job, Rise Above. This is your playoff team, right? So you weren't sure you were going to make the playoffs last week, and now look at you, pal. Now look at you. I need Sharps to save my season. Kevin, let me call him up. Zach, yeah, I know you're prepared. Zach, listen to me. I know you're preparing. Okay. Get the champagne bottles ready. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 125 total yards and a touchdown minimum. We got it. Book it, Dano. Appreciate you.
Get Charbonnet. Pop open a nice bottle of Charbonnet.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk.
Warning, what you're about to see might be a little bit scary. You might want to turn away if you're squeamish, but this footage has been sent to us from a local Phoenix resident. Local authorities are trying to figure out what the sign means. It reads Sharp Season. Unclear as to what that is trying to reference or if that's some sort of warning. And it's still undetermined where these flying objects are deriving from.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk.
All right, so here we are. More super chats to go. Appreciate all of you. I need Sharps to save my season. Kevin, let's go Charbonnet. Rock out. Look at Rock out. And the dummy of the day is yours truly, Rock out, for playing Pacheco over Devontae Smith. Over the Devontae Smith, shaking my head. I'm not cut out for this. I'm getting bullied. Look, Rock out, didn't you choose? Didn't you? So you sat Devontae Smith, but you played BTJ? If so, you made a good call there. But I think your choice was between BTJ, Devontae Smith, and Pacheco, if I remember correctly. So that means you started BTJ. Is that correct? Rise Above, appreciate you. Evans erupted. I just left the Chargers game, Smitty. Bro, Evans was the call of the week on this channel. The call of the week. Evans exploded. Evans was amazing. Evans was a reason a lot of people won their week this week. And people were scared of him. He's a Pro Bowl Hall of Fame quarterback that could drop, as we said all week long, 2 to 3 touchdowns on anybody any given week. I can't express my disappointment of JT dropping that TD, says Colin. He was an absolute embarrassment dropping that touchdown. Bowers or Kraft? Bowers down 4 against London. You can't sit Bowers. You can't. Look at what Wes. You looks like you don't have to get the tattoo on the lower back after all. A.J. Brown did outperform Barkley. You got a little lucky, though, because Barkley got hurt. But A.J. Brown, as predicted on this show, Wes, we told you, Wes. No, Wes was on board with it. Wes was on board. He likes to pretend he's the A.J. Brown whisperer. But A.J. Brown absolutely had a day, as we talked about on this show over and over and over. The squeaky wheel was going to get the oil, a.k.a. grease. And boy, did A.J. Brown get it. But he also got injured at the end of the game with a horse collar-looking tackle, or a hip drop tackle. I think it was a hip drop tackle, and it didn't look good. That's how you tear an ACL. I hope A.J. Brown's okay. We'll find out more later. Wes says he hung 210 today. I'll log that. Need your advice. Okay, Wes, we'll drop another question if you got one, and I'll try and help you. Nico, appreciate you. Projected 156, 162. He has Bowers and Bijan. I have Watson and Keenan Allen. Do I risk it and wait to see if he could play AOC or Sincere instead? Do I risk it to see if I can play AOC and Sincere instead of what? Instead of Watson? I'm not following. You mean sit Watson and Keenan Allen for Sincere and AOC? I don't think so, bro. No. I keep those two in. The two guys you have in have good upside. I'd rather be the other guy. I'll be honest with you, Nico, but I'm not trying to get crazy and start lesser players. You never know, though. Sincere's, but I don't know what you mean about Sincere. You want to pick him up and play him over Watson? What is that? What are we talking about, bro? As a Raider fan, don't play AOC, says Daniel. I don't think AOC's going to be an amazing play. I think he's good for Bowers, but I'm not starting Sincere McCormick. I don't think I'd do that. Chat, would you start Sincere McCormick, or would you go with who was it? Keenan Allen? Keenan Allen and Watson. We're not going to sit Watson. Let Watson play tonight. I mean, he could get you 100 yards at any given moment. Absolutely don't do that, in my opinion. But trust your gut. Trust your gut. James Cook is him. Oh, another call. James Cook and Evans were probably the two calls of the week. And Higgins. Higgins didn't have as big a game as Mike Evans and James Cook. But all week long, people were potentially trying to sit James Cook. And your boys said, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Yeah, it was BTJ and Devontae Smith and Pacheco, but did sit Devontae Smith. Then that wasn't crazy, though, Rockout. You play BTJ. That was a hell of a call. And so you did good. Don't even be hard on yourself on that one. Devontae Smith and Pacheco were a close call. That we had to go to the chat 3 times to get that vote. I thought you said you sat BT. You played BT. That was a phenomenal move, Rockout. It was a phenomenal move. That was a veteran move. Dial in a few phone calls, and then we're out of here because the game's going.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial in. Game is nearing its onset. So we will be here just for a few moments. If you got another super chat, drop it, and I'll answer it in order in which they were received, except for $20 haulers and above get immediate attention. In order in which, they are priced. In order in which they're received. The world's not fair. It's a rough world out there. Let's see here. What do you guys got? JT goal line fumble may have cost me 1 league. Stupidity, says Space Ricky. I don't understand how a player does that. You get ridiculed when you do it. I don't know if the phone lines are working. We'll answer calls on the evening show. Guys, the game's starting right here. I'll see you all after. Appreciate every single one of you that's in the building. 418 of you, please hit that thumb up button on the way out the door. Subscribe. Slap the subscribe button if you're new. Hit that thumb up button on the way out the door. We'll see you all after the game. Literally like a minute before the game ends, we'll be live. Okay, so file in about a minute before the game ends and the clock goes to 0. We'll already have the live chat up ready for me to hit the button. Here's Wes real quickly. Wes, make it snappy, Wes. You got about 20 seconds, Wes. Go ahead, Wes. 20 seconds. Go.
No, I just want to say, dude, awesome stuff today. I heard your take on everything today. It was good stuff. Did order your shirt. Awesome. The quality's good from what I hear. I hope it is. I'm going to be wearing it to work, and just keep up the good work, bro. We'll talk later.
All right,
Bye.
Congrats on not having to get your tattoo. Wes is he's taking a low-key approach. All right, I'll see you all later.